Okay, good morning and welcome to day 2 of solving equations with variables on both sides of the equation. Um, Remember, the first lesson in here was involving examples that had variables on both sides of the equation, but there were no parentheses in them. Today we're going to move on to examples that have variables on both sides but contain parentheses and require the distributive property. So we are going to start here. If you've been following with the note packet, we're going to start on example 3. If you don't have the note packet, go ahead and copy down the example of 22 and then in parentheses g minus 1 equals 2g plus 8. Okay, so just like we've been doing here, we want to take a look at the equation and decide what to do first, okay? So we know that there are variables on the left and there's a variable on the right. So we are going to have to combine those in some way. However, before you combine, the first thing you should really do is get rid of the parentheses if they're there. So a few videos back, we talked about what that means. When we have parentheses and we have a number in front, that means we need to distribute the number in front to each of them inside. Okay, so this is a 1g inside here. Sometimes it helps to put the 1 in, right? There's a 1. And what we're going to do is we're going to multiply 22 times 1g. So that would be 22g. And then we're going to distribute or multiply the 22 by the next term, which in this case is really a negative 1. So 22 times negative 1 would be negative 22. And now on this side, we don't have any parentheses, so what we will do is drop down our equal sign and our 2g and our plus 8. And then we have what we had in the last video, which is a variable on either side of the equal sign. So there are multiple ways that you can do this. What I like to teach is getting the variable from the right side to the left side. So we're going to cancel the one on the right by doing the opposite. So the opposite of 2g would be negative 2g or minus 2g, and that will cancel. So we got to do that over here, and we have to make sure we do it with the 22g because that's the one that has the variable. Okay, so 22g minus 2g is 20g, and then bring down your minus 22, equal sign, and this positive 8 now comes down. Okay, now I'm going to rewrite this up over here because I'm running out of space, which I should have left more, but I didn't, so we will move it here. So now we've got 20g minus 22 equals 8. Okay, now the goal is to get all of our numbers to the opposite side that our letter is on. So the g is on the left, which means we want to get everything over to the right. So 8 is already there. The first one we would move would be our minus 22. So to move it, we have to do the opposite, which would be add 22. Okay, so 20g comes down, equals now 8 plus 22 is 30. And then our final step, this means 20 times g. To undo that times, we would divide by 20 here and divide by 20 here. And our final answer is 30 divided by 20, g equal 1.5. And that's what we get. Oh, sorry, can't see that. All right, and that's how we do a variable on both sides, and we deal with the parentheses. Okay, let's do another example. So example 4, if you have the math packet, should say 2 times 5x minus 1, and then on the other side equals 3 times x plus 11. Okay, so in this case, we have parentheses on both sides of the equation, which is fine. We have to get rid of both of them before we can solve, again by distributing and multiplying. So we multiply 2 times 5x, which would be 10x. Then we would multiply 2 times negative 1, which gives us -2. And when we write it down, we are writing it down as -2. We're alternating between negative and minus because really it's the same thing. Okay, equals now. There's a hidden 1 in front of this x here, so some might help to write that in. So 3 times 1x is 3x. And then we do 3 times positive 11, which would be positive 33. So we write that down as plus 33. Okay, now we have an x on the left side and we have x on the right. So we will cancel the 1 on the right. So the opposite of 3x would be negative 3x. Line that up under the 10x minus 3x. So 10x minus 3x is 7x. Then bring down -2. Bring down your equal sign. And bring down your positive 33. Okay? And once you're here, you have 1x over here. So all the numbers got to go to the other side. So since x is on the left, we're going to move everything to the right of the equal sign. So we're going to add 2, because the opposite of minus is add. And again, I ran out of space, so I'm going to write it over here. That gives me 7x equal 33 plus 2 is 35. And our final step here is undo this multiply. This means 7 times x. So we will divide by 7 and divide by 7, and we get x equal 5. Boom. Awesome. Okay, so the idea is when we're doing these, we want to first get rid of the parentheses by distributing or multiplying the number in front of the parentheses by everything inside. Then we can cancel out our variable on one side. Usually in my class, I train them to cancel out the right side if possible. And then we start working from there to get all the variable on the left side and all the numbers on the right. Okay, one last example that I thought would be good is example 5 here. I'm going to move this up as much as I can with my document camera. And the reason I wanted to do this is because it appears as though there's a random minus sign out in front of the parentheses. So minus always has to go with something. In this case, you can't just have minus parenthesis. What that means is there's another hidden 1. So that means there's a -1 here in front that needs to get distributed. So -1 times 5a would be -5a. -1 times 6 would give us -6. And again, we're writing that down as a minus. Bring down your equal sign. And then we'll do 2 times 3a would be 6a. And then 2 times positive 8 would be positive 16. Okay, now we have an a on the left side of the equation and an a on the right. So we will cancel the 1 on the right. So the opposite of 6a would be -6a or -6a. Cancel that. And then we subtract 6a from the 5a over here. -5a minus 6 more would be -11a. Bring down your -6, your equal sign, and bring down that positive 16. Okay, now a is on the left. We got to get all those numbers to the right side by undoing what's there. So to undo a -6, we would add 6 here and add 6 over here. And I'm going to move it over here. So -11a is what we have on the left. Our equal sign is still there. And then 16 plus 6 would give us 22. And then finally, we have to undo this -11 times a. And so to undo that, we would divide by -11 and divide by -11. And our final answer is a equal -2. And that is our answer. Okay, so hopefully you find that helpful in solving equations with variables on both sides that include grouping symbols or parentheses. If you need extra help on the stuff before that, see the previous video.